In today's video, I'm going to share with you a DIY kitchen sewing project to help you reduce kitchen clutter. Hi everyone, welcome to Ooni Crafts. If this is your first time here, this is a crafts and home improvement channel committed to donating a percentage of all ad revenue to charities of your choice. You can find out more in the About section of Ooni Crafts. Let's go ahead. As you guys know, we moved into our new home last year and we have an open plan downstairs. This means that anything and everything you leave outside on the counters is visible to everyone. Now, personally, I really like the clutter-free look. So slowly and gradually, I've been coming up with ways to hide visual clutter out of sight. A big contribution to my countertop clutter was my old dish drainer, where I would put hand-washed wet dishes to dry out. Now, to reduce this, I bought myself one of these really small dish drainers, and I managed to create a space for it inside one of the kitchen cupboards. However, it still did not solve the problem of drying out smaller items like children's sippy cup lids, bottle caps, snap boxes, etc. So I found this lovely basket at IKEA and I started using this to contain the smaller wet dishes. And I would tuck these away inside a kitchen drawer out of sight. But as you know, wet dishes drip and you need something to catch those drips. I was using this ugly old dish towel folded up for this purpose, but for the longest time I have been wanting to have a customized solution to this problem because the dish towel moves about all over the place and it just looks really untidy. I cannot use something standard like a pot holder here because A, they're not the right size, and B, they're not always absorbent or as absorbent as I would like them to be. So I decided to create a customized absorbent pad that will fit perfectly underneath my little IKEA draining basket. Let me show you how. I started off by washing and drying this heavy natural cotton upholstery fabric. It's really thick, and you have seen this fabric earlier as well in this table runner video. You can just see here how thick the fibers are in this fabric, and it's super absorbent as well. Now, to really test if this fabric is fit for my purpose, I actually started off by pouring some water on one corner of the fabric to see how well it absorbs the water. And here, as you can see, that tiny little puddle of water naturally gets absorbed by this fabric fairly quickly, which is exactly what I'm looking for. Now, this is just a single layer of fabric and some drops of water did seep through, but in reality I'm actually going to be using double layers of fabric, and to be honest, there isn't going to be a whole lot of water there anyway, so this is the perfect fabric that I'm going to use now for my project. I started by folding one edge of the fabric over so that I've got a length of double layered fabric which is slightly bigger than the base of the IKEA basket I'll be using. Once I've got the fabric folded over to the correct width, I use my scissors to make tiny little nicks along the fabric so that I know where to cut it. Next, I use my quilting ruler to make marks where I want to cut two straight lines on two edges of this fabric. I'm not using any fancy tools, I just had a liquid chalk pen lying around. I've used this earlier and it worked well, so I resorted to using this again, and I'm just making a dotted line where I need to cut. Next, I used my fabric scissors to make two straight cuts along this fabric, and this left me with a perfect or an almost perfect square folded over or doubled over, which would be the perfect thickness for me to create the absorbent pad for my draining basket. Now I folded this thick heavy fabric in half, smoothing it out as I go, and the idea is now to sew along all four sides of this fabric, leaving about a 4-inch opening where I will be turning this right side out. And to make sure that I do not forget to leave that opening out, I actually used my chalk pen to create two notches or two marks along one edge where I have to remember not to sew over. Time now to set up our mini sewing machine, and oh god, it's been such a long time since I've used my mini sewing machine, and it just feels great to go through these motions once again. It's our 7-point checks where we have to pass our thread to 7 different points along our machine, and you know where to find this video. It's at this link above if you don't know how to do this already. And once it's done, we are ready to sew. Now, just to prevent the layers from shifting, I've got these cute little sewing clips that I'm using to just hold the two layers together before I start sewing. I am a bit rusty, so it's always helpful if you've got some extra little helping hands, and these clips help to stabilize the fabric as you sew. Now our project is in position underneath the needle. Needle goes in. I am using the reverse kangaroo hop method that you can find here to lock my stitching at the beginning and at the end of the project. And as soon as I lock the first couple of stitches, I go ahead and I start sewing all around the 4 corners or 4 edges of this project. Every time I reach a corner, I leave the needle in, I lift the presser foot up, and I swivel my project by 90 degrees, and then I lower the presser foot again, and I continue to sew all the way to the second chalk mark. Now, I don't know if you can see this clearly enough because I have used blue thread on blue fabric, but the machine performed beautifully well as always. I've got lovely straight stitches sitting nice and flush on both sides of the fabric. And now, before I turn the project right side out, we first need to tidy things up a bit. So I'm getting rid of any extra bits of thread hanging out. Along with that, I'm also going to reduce the bulk at the corners and along this frayed edge. So I'm getting rid of this frayed edge, this extra fabric which is of no use to me. I'm also going to trim away little triangles at all the 4 corners just beyond the stitch line so that I'm getting rid of any bulky fabric at the corners. Time now to turn our project right side out. So there is that roughly 4-inch opening, or maybe slightly bigger. I can easily get my hand through that opening. I don't have very big hands. And then I carefully push the corners in through, and then I pull the whole project right side out through that opening, gradually working my way slowly and carefully. I've got this chisel-tipped bamboo skewer that I'm using to poke the corners out. And then once the corners are nice and sharp and pointy, I also want to get some nice crisp edges to this project. And I'm going to do that by using my quilting ruler, and I simply push the flat edge of the quilting ruler along all 4 sides of this project to really press out the 4 corners and the 4 edges. So far so good. Our project has turned right side out beautifully well. Now we just have to tuck in the lips of that opening and give the whole thing a nice good hot press. To press the project, I use my domestic steam iron. I've got it nice and full with water, and I'm using it to press out all the seams, all the edges, and all the corners. Along with that, I'm also going to tuck in the lips of the opening and give the opening a nice good press so I've got a nice seam to work with. Now, there's the opening that we need to close, but you need to remember that this is actually 4 layers now of nice thick upholstery fabric. So you do need to wriggle it a little bit underneath the presser foot. You might have to fuss and fiddle with the lifting up lever and kind of lift it higher than normal and wriggle the project underneath the presser foot until you have it exactly where you need it to be, which is just beyond the edge of the opening. And we're going to once again start by doing a reverse kangaroo hop, and then sew all the way across the opening and then close it again with another reverse kangaroo hop. Also remember that because we're working with 4 thick layers of fabric, we are going to press down on the presser foot using the tip of something sharp like my small little pair of scissors, and that increased pressure is going to make sure that our little sewing machine does not skip any stitches. Now that the opening is closed, our project is looking beautifully finished. I can see no skip stitches, and I'm simply going to tidy up any stray bits of thread before moving on to the last couple of steps. Now we're going to do just a couple of quilting lines down the middle of this project just to hold the two layers of fabric together. So I fold the project in half and press down on that crease using the back of my scissors. And that's going to create a lovely deep straight lined crease for me. And I'm simply going to use my mini sewing machine to sew a straight stitch down that middle central crease. And I'm going to follow it up with another perpendicular stitch line, creating a cross or a plus sign down the middle of the project, and in that way both the layers of our project are going to be beautifully anchored and the layers won't shift around at all. Once again, as before, we're going to begin and finish our sewing using the reverse kangaroo hop method to lock the stitches. And now here, as you can see, once that central cross is done, I've given the whole project one final good steam press, and now the project is looking beautifully crisp and flat, and it's ready to be placed underneath that basket, that IKEA draining basket inside my drawer, and it's the perfect customized solution for the space. So let's see how it looks now. And here, as you can see, the little absorbent mat fits perfectly underneath my IKEA draining basket. It's such a joy to use this little mat because I've created it myself, and it's a perfect customized solution for my little kitchen. Hiding away the wash dishes inside my kitchen drawer means that I have a less cluttered kitchen, which is what I was aiming for. And the best thing is that I did not have to spend any money on expensive kitchen solutions. This was just very simple and absolutely free that I came up with myself. And if you want to hide away the clutter in your kitchen as well, it might be worth looking into solutions to hiding your clean washed dishes. So maybe one step could be to find a cupboard in which you can tuck away your dish drainer. And if you do have young kids at home or anybody at home who uses smaller dishes, things like bottle caps, sippy cups, milk bottles, anything of that sort really, then it's well worth investing in a small little cheap basket. And then you can make this little absorbent pad for underneath the basket and even for underneath the dish drainer so that your cupboards stay protected. And it's just perfect. I hope you found this tutorial helpful and that it gave you some ideas on how you too can reduce the clutter around your kitchen. If you did find this helpful, please do consider hitting the like button and subscribing. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you guys soon. Bye.